Hi there, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots, and today we are making a no-sew 10-inch gnome, and I made this pattern for everybody who just likes to do hot glue. Boop! If you'd like to make these adorable gnomes, stick around. As always, please like this video so that I know you're here with me. I have the pattern all completed. It's a final pattern, not just this slips of paper here. And we have fabric, we have faux fur, we have noses and hands made of beads, we have glue gun, a straight blade, scissors, and some kind of fill and a polyfill. So a rice or beans or even small rocks. What we're going to do is we're just going to transfer our pattern to our fabrics. Now this is a beautiful gauzy fabric. I chose to make 2 gnomes for each of the colors of the Ruffles and Rain Boots logo. And so you can see me here, I'm just cutting out them, the hat pieces. This is the money of this pattern right here. This right here is the tuck pattern. And what that means is you will not have to sew a thing. All we're going to do is use these strategic tucks and pieces of the pattern to make sure that we have a nice solid base for our gnome. Next up, we're going to prepare our hats, and all we're going to do, as you can imagine, is we are going to be turning these inside out. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we hot glue the long edges only. If you do have a fabric hot glue, that works best because it won't pull apart. But if you have regular hot glue, don't worry, works just fine. If you are hemming, you can do that as well here, but I'm going to save that for later and show you what your options are. Now, we're going to assemble the body piece. This is the, like I said, the money of the pattern. And what we're going to do is when we flip this on its side, you'll see this is how tall the body of the gnome is. And you see this little slip down here? This is really important to get a lot of generous glue on because this is going to be the base of our gnome. We have had no pop outs. We've had no issues with anything. So you can be secure in making these gnomes, even with a heavy fill. All right, so we're just going to repeat this process with the hat and the body of the pink gnome. All right. Excuse me, I'm still sick. Next up, we're going to turn and test. And what I mean by this is, especially if you didn't use fabric hot glue, we're going to have to make sure that all of the seams are not popped. You see that right there? That's a pop seam. So all we have to do is just grab our hot glue gun and make sure. And we have that little flap covering everything so you can't see any hot glue in there. But what you want to make sure is that you have absolutely no holes. And I just use my finger and I run it along every seam just to make sure that I have nothing that could possibly fall out. And then we're going to turn in the hat outside right. And we're going to make sure we can use a little pencil to get up the tip of the hat. We're going to repeat this process for any of the gnomes you're doing. Each gnome takes about 15 minutes. If you're doing 2, it takes about 20, 25. All right, so now we're going to stabilize the gnome. I use poly beads, rice, small rocks, beans, anything you have. And then I would also say put the polyfill up because that's going to give your gnome a lot of help with regard to the hat structure. It's also going to make it quite plush and really like a nicer quality look to it. All right, so we're going to stuff the hat full with polyfill. I always tend to overstuff, so if that's you, don't worry. We have multiple times we're going to be test fitting this hat so that we can make sure that everything fits properly. All right, so you can see I'm just going to test fit it here, pull out a little bit of polyfill because where I want it. I know that I'm going to have a hem because this is a fraying fabric, but you see what I'm doing here? I'm just tucking a little bit just to make sure I have the height that I want. All right, so we're left with these 2 pieces, and we're just going to repeat it for the other gnome as well. Set those guys aside. And again, I did it with the same thing. I always test, and then I end up taking out fluff. It's like a habit. All right, so now we're going to cut the fur for the beards of the braids. If you want to make braids, I will link a braid tutorial using a quality cut faux fur. But how you're going to cut faux fur is just follow the video link I'll put up there. Only the backing. That's all you have to remember. Don't use scissors. Just use a razor blade or an X-Acto knife. You can tear it, but you can't tear any U-shape very well. I've tried. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the width of our fur is just beyond halfway around this gnome. So that way we can make sure the front and the back of the gnome look pretty nice. All right, so next up we're going to assemble the gnome, and as you can imagine, we're going to start by hot gluing. We put the seam for this pattern in the back, and then we're going to pull up the the faux fur, so that we can make sure that the fur falls onto the table where we want it to, because again, the fur is going to extend beyond that fabric line, so you can see there. And we're just going to repeat the process for the little blue guy. So I always check, look, the seam is in the back to make sure, and then we're just going to wrap around our little fur. And you can brush it down with your hands or use a cat comb or anything. This is a crinkly fur, so we want it to look a little bit wild. All right, so now we're going to finalize the hats. And all I mean by this is that we are going to start making sure that we have the height of the hat the way we want so that we can place the nose. We're not actually going to start gluing down the hat until we have the gnome noses on the bodies. And all we're going to do with that is just lift up the hat and stick with the nose right on the faux fur. You don't have to cut out a little notch for the faux fur. It's just more work and I'm lazy. All right, so now that we have the noses on, you can see here, I'm gonna make a little tiny hem here. I didn't know if I was gonna use the frayed look or not, so here I am making a hem. And it's just by tucking it over and then putting it back on the hat. Excuse me. So we're not going to glue this hat all the way down if you're using the arms. If you don't want to use the arms, glue happy. Glue all the way around, secure this guy so that, no child could undo him. But we're going to start always with the nose first. And I like putting that down because that is the focal point of the face of the gnome, because we don't have any eyeballs for this little guy. And then you're going to take the two seams on the side and you're going to tack those down, right, just with one dab of glue. Again, we're not going to go wild on the glue yet, because if we're using those arms, we're actually going to hide those up under the hat. So we're going to do the same with the other side. And you can see me, I am tugging the hat down. You see how the back kind of flips backwards a little bit? We want that to happen. Not only does it open the gnome's face, but we also want it to happen because we are going to tuck the hat. And you can see the pink one I already did there. This is a little out of order in my editing. I'm still quite sick and a little foggy, but you can see here that I'm just holding it down in place. And what we're going to do is we're also going to do the back. Now watch what happens when we do the back. You can see the seam there. We're just going to add a little dab of hot glue and watch how far I pull the back down. Ready? You see what happened to the front of the hat? It pulls the whole thing backwards, and that's exactly what we want. We want that to open up because we're going to bring the hat forward with our tucks. And that brings us to the tucking the pleat section. This is super easy, and you don't have to use hot glue. You can use like a needle and thread as well in a corresponding color to your fabric. But again, you know, I'm a little lazy. So I'm using hot glue, and all I'm doing is adding a little hot glue and squishing the fabric on top. You might have to hold it if you're not using a fabric hot glue. So you can see there it's kind of raising up. So hold it until it's dry. There we go. And then you can just move on to the next section. So I will say that if you alternate each side, it looks a little bit more natural than if you just bend up all the way over on one side. If you're going to do that inside the pattern, we have a whole lot of suggestions on how to make different hats for these gnomes. And one of them would be a 12 gauge wire that you've stabilized in there with some polyfill and hot glue. And if you really want sort of a bendy hat, I would say that would be the best way to do it. All right, so we're going to finish this up. One last tip about the tucking is raise up the gnome and stand it up on the table so you can really see how it bends and moves with the tucks and the folds in it. You shouldn't have to do anything on the back. Again, we've already pulled the hat back. Okay, so if you are using the arms, you're just going to prepare the arms per the pattern. It's super easy. We're just going to fold these guys over, and you'll see that we cut them super long, because if you are doing this and you have something really big and fluffy, like maybe it's a pillow or something you've made, a sachet or something, which would be really cute, actually, a little sachet. Anyway, if you have that, we've made the arms really, really long for you, and that's because you can put anything in between them. I do not need them that long because I just have a really big grapevine wreath heart, so I'm just going to cut one, and then we're going to start placing them. So because we've only tacked down that one seam, now what we're going to be able to do is just behind that, so you can kind of see, let me close up here, you can see behind that seam, we're going to tuck up the arm under there. right? So you don't want to do it before the seam because it would just look kind of funny. So just behind that seam. That's why we didn't want to put a whole lot of hot glue. And now we're just going to do it on the other side as well. So you're just going to add a little hot glue. Excuse me. And we're just going to lift up right past that seam and just tuck it up under. And try not to get the glue on the faux fur. It's kind of a bear to get out if you let it dry. All right, so now you can see you're just going to test fit the arms, and because it's always good to go a little bit longer because now I can just chop off a little bit and before I put on my beads, because where I wanted my wreath kind of high up on the body. So all we're going to do now is just hot glue our little clay hands. And if you don't want to make clay, just use little wooden beads. You can even make little felt mittens, which are super, super cute. And you can glue those on the inside of that fabric. So you only need one layer of felt. Super cute, no sewing involved as well. But I just like the look of the clay beads to match the clay noses that I made. All right, and one little tip about that, you saw me holding the clay bead away from the beard. Don't let it rest on it because it will glue to your beard. I've learned from my mistakes and lessons learned. Now up, we're just going to attach our adorable little grapevine wreath. And one thing about the wreath I do want to tell you is that don't make the arms symmetrical. So don't make them grabbing the wreath, excuse me, in the same height. I don't know why. I'm not sure. I can't even explain it. Maybe you want it to look like that. It just looked a little funny. So if you put one a little higher and one a little lower, you see, if you do that, it looks a little bit more playful and a little bit more whimsical. Again, a little rustic, a little fun. And we're just going to repeat this entire thing here with our little pink gnome. And again, looking back, I kind of wish I would have made this one into a little girl with the braids, but I didn't even think of it. This is what happens when you craft sick, people. It's your brain doesn't really work. And I've been sick for weeks now. And so I'm just now getting better and hoping to get out a couple more videos before the end of the year for these adorable little gnomes. Look at her, or him, so cute. Okay, so if you are wondering about anything on this pattern, just let me know below. This is a really simple pattern. Anybody can do it. Please give this a like and please subscribe to Ruffles and Rain Boots for more crafty fun.